Welcome back, Conroe, to a brand new edition of Nerd Thug Sports. Hanging out here on 104.5, 106.1, the sister stations, and streaming worldwide at irlonestar.com. We're hanging out here, as always, on this Sporty Sport Thursday with me, Corey DLG, and little brother Nico.
Hello, hello.
And we're doing the Anchor Quarantine La Bamba thing, you know?
Yeah, it's becoming much less interesting the farther this has gone.
Yeah, it's becoming the new routine. This is now the normal.
I hate it.
I don't know. It's been kind of nice not have to look at you when I do the show.
I know, you don't have to look at my amazingly long hair now. I look like a homeless person who lives in a home.
The shag on you is probably amazing. Although the gross face beard is probably like next level sad.
Yeah, I gotta trim it up. It's a little look a little bit homeless.
This may be the most brown you've ever looked, and it's probably a good thing I can't see it.
Yeah, probably.
Because I would laugh at you every time. And I bet, knowing you, I'm going to do an all-in-air call out here. I'm sorry, buddy. I bet your fingernails are really long.
No, I had to cut them. They were too long.
You had to cut them? Oh, my God. You cut them without me getting onto you?
Yeah, no.
No, I don't believe this.
It's because I scratched myself like too many times. They're too sharp.
Be more embarrassed.
No, they're long and beautiful.
Listen, Radio World, I have to get on to this guy about his finger. I am not Captain self-clean hygiene person. I'm probably not the best person on the planet for that. I'm not a dirty person by any stretch, but I'm not a perfect person, and I let people slide on stuff because I'm not great at the little things. I criticize this guy's nails. That's how bad it is. We'll get off of that because I don't want to pick on you about your fingernails because I feared then next time I see you, they'll just be longer to spite me.
Exclusive to you. Like, if I go anywhere else, I'd cut them, but because I'm going to your house, I won't.
You have no idea, like, how likely that might be in my brain, and then also just how much that pisses me off. Like, I kind of believe you do that. Just because you said it now. Now I'm not so sure that's not your plan anyway.
Everything I do is to spite you.
I knew it. Speaking of just doing stuff completely and totally out of spite, the big story going on this week.
The WWE spites all wrestlers.
No. Although we can get to wrestling here because more stuff.
It keeps unraveling.
It does. It really does. No, this one specifically is about the Green Bay Packers.
Ah, the old Packers.
So the Green Bay Packers traded back into the tail end of the first round last week, Thursday of the draft. And okay, I'm going to start with this. In 15 years, they have never drafted a wide receiver in the first round.
All right, good for them.
Aaron Rodgers had, coming into this season, signed a new $100 million extension. He's got 4 years left on his contract. He'll be 40 when that contract is up, and he says publicly he'd like to sign one more and stay in Green Bay. So all of the information I just gave you, what do you think Green Bay did with the pick they got trading back into the first round?
Not a wide receiver.
You would be incorrect.
Dang.
Do you want to guess again?
I don't know. Man, what if they got a quarterback just to spite him?
And they did.
Nice.
They did. They went and they got themselves a quarterback. And not even that. They got themselves a quarterback that pretty much everyone had, like, at that point in the draft, still like third from the top. Like, so they took quarterback Jordan Love, okay? Jordan Love was not the number 3 quarterback on anybody's board that I saw.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, while the quarterback from LSU had gone number 1 overall, and Tua had gone number 5 to Miami, that was kind of it for the quarterbacks. The rest of the quarterbacks were basically still there. There wasn't like this big run on quarterbacks or anything. So Green Bay traded back into the back half of the first round, late first round. Keep in mind, the NFL is reverse order. So these are teams towards the back end that are playing in the playoffs. These are teams that, for the most part, have a quarterback.
Yeah.
They traded play. Exactly. They traded into the back end of the first round. They gave up more draft assets to take a quarterback.
Hey, Aaron Rodgers, I know you want to be here for 5 more years, but we got a quarterback that no one cared about.
And here's the thing, is first rounders will have a 4-year deal. Usually, I think under the new rookie structure, that's a done deal. First rounders have a 4-year contract and a 5th-year option. So if for some reason Green Bay doesn't do the option, Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers, their contracts end at the same time. Exactly.
That doesn't make any sense.
So the conversation immediately afterwards, people were kind of asking the GM, like,
what the heck?
Yeah, ¿qué pasó, hombre? And he said things along the lines of, I'm real big stupid. Nobody know what I do but me. I'm super smart. No, he said, would that be great if that was his quote? Like, you guys think you talk, all right?
You guys, small brain. My brain very big.
My brain super large. You're so stupid, you don't see it. I play chess. You look at checkers.
Not even play. You look at checkers.
You watch someone else play. No, he basically said that while he understands people's surprise, they have to consider the future and the present as they draft. The Packers just went 13-3.
Yeah, like it's not like they're a bad team.
So right now they need to be focused on the
right now.
Because they're 13-3, they're in playoffs. This is the second year under the new head coach. Aaron Rodgers is doing everything he can to play as long as he possibly can, but the window is getting smaller, not larger. You want to give him as much help as possible because literally last year you went 13-3.
Right, yeah. That's very like, hey, if we had more things on the board, maybe we can get 14. Maybe we can go to a Super Bowl. Maybe we can win said Super Bowl.
Yeah, like backup quarterback.
Backup quarterback. That's what we need. First
backup quarterback. It screams that the Green Bay folks aren't happy with Aaron Rodgers. There's no other way to look at it. There's no other way to read it.
Yeah, other than my brain is too big, you can't see these massive plays.
This only step 1. Many steps before I win all games.
Right, and then to come to find out in 3 years, this is the 15-0 greatest Green Bay team to ever exist.
Jordan Love is part of a 4-team trade that brings untold riches to the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah,
there is no good explanation for the decision. It just is what it is. The reality is the quotes that are coming out aren't good about this. Apparently, Aaron Rodgers is not so fun to be around, according to the new second-year head coach LaFleur. He's not thrilled, and he's not necessarily enjoying the work dynamic with Aaron Rodgers. So he's kind of looking around, trying to figure out what his other options are. And I guess they're hoping that having Jordan Love means that they're not locked into the idea of Aaron Rodgers being the top dog of Green Bay.
Doesn't really make any sense, though.
No, it doesn't, because what are your options? Get rid of one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL?
Hey, look, if it worked for the Patriots, they said.
Listen, man. So I want to get into this next segment, but there's some people that have been doing some number diving about Bill O'Brien's moves and about how it fits into the idea that he's a Patriots way kind of guy. So I got a little conversation we can have about the Patriots and about decision making and all that here in a minute. But I mean, the difference between Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers is about 4 years, and the fact that Aaron Rodgers has been going to the playoffs every year with bad teams, and this is the first year Tom Brady really had a bad team.
Yeah, and they got knocked out.
You know, the first time Tom Brady had a bad team, he couldn't get back to the Super Bowl, whereas Aaron Rodgers has only had bad teams.
Right. He basically won a Super Bowl by himself.
It's kind of what it feels like at this point. And the longer it goes,
the more impressive that is.
Because the more you look back at that roster and the names are more and more forgettable.
Right, and you're like, oh, man, there's like nobody here.
Right, because eventually what will happen is you'll look back at that roster and you'll only see the name Aaron Rodgers. Like, the rest of the names on the team, you'll just be like, I mean, I guess.
I mean, like, he's pretty good, I guess, but, like, you
got
rings.
For, like, 2 years there. That happens a lot for, like, receivers. Receivers have – a lot of them have a very small window where they are good. Philadelphia famously had – Philadelphia and the Giants for a couple of years had a couple of guys where everyone talked about them. Mm-hmm. And it was actually the Cowboys, too. It was just long enough for everyone to make mistakes and give them too much money. So the Eagles, it was Freddie Mitchell. He just kind of came out of nowhere right after T.O. left. And all of a sudden, people were like, oh, FredEx, oh, man.
FredEx? Yeah. I hate that.
He used to be a FedEx delivery driver in the offseason for a job because he didn't know if he was going to make it on the team.
Right, and then he did well 1 year, and they called him the FredEx.
The FredEx. And
I hate everything about that. I hate sports so much. Why do they have to do this to me?
And he braided his hair into a mohawk under the helmet. It was cool. It was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool. I'm not going to lie about that. It was.
What years?
FredEx? FredEx is probably 2013-ish, somewhere in that range.
Oh, this is like recent. What the heck?
Yeah. This isn't like in the annals of history, okay? Also, the Giants had a guy named Victor Cruz, who for like 3 years, everyone was like, Victor Cruz is one of the best receivers in the NFL. And then he very quickly disappeared. He had like back-to-back injury seasons, and that was it. But he won.
He hurt his knee 2 times and then fell off the universe.
Well, yeah, basically. He won Dancing with the Stars, and he also had a pretty good agent, so he got paid from the Giants one time. And then they had to cut him pretty quick. And Miles Austin for the Dallas Cowboys was the same thing. He actually broke Michael Irving's record for catches in a game. But I was watching the game, and honestly, it just looks like Tony Romo didn't have time to look anywhere except at him. So Tony Romo was pegging him with the ball over and over and over again. Just nonstop, just drilling a football into Miles Austin's chest. And so he broke the record in that game. Well, he goes on to have a goodish season, a not bad season, and he puts together 2 more goodish seasons. So they give him a $50 million extension, and very quickly it's Miles who.
Yeah, look, if you have a big enough contract, no one says anything about finishing the season.
Well, it's so J.J. Watt has a $15 million cap hit this year. But next year, I think, is the last year of his deal, and it's a $17.5 million cap hit. So while he's basically a shoo-in for this season to make the roster and all that, he's not in any danger of not being on the team this year. Mm-hmm. But if he were to get hurt again this year and miss real time, a real end-of-the-year rehab type injury, they probably wouldn't bring him back at 17.5 next year.
Probably not.
And that's what happens to these receivers is man, you've been good for 2 or 3 years, so here's a really big contract. And the first year of the contract, yeah, for sure, no problem, whatever. The second year, yeah, probably. I mean, you're not costing us a ton. Plus, just last year you were good. And then it starts to become very quickly how much is it going to cost to keep you?
Ooh, that's a little bit high. I'll think about that.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe don't fly down this offseason. I will let you know. And that quickly becomes the do they, don't they board a plane scenario. It looks like we're right up against it here, so we're going to jump out to a break. When we come back, we got more Nerd Thug Sports coming your way. This is Corey DLG of Nerd Thug Radio. I'm going to tell you guys about my friends, The Adventure Begins, comics, games, and more. Located right there on 1488 in Conroe. Right now, they're not open, but the Facebook page is active. They are still working every day to keep their inventory going. They're building a website. They're working on some events behind the scenes that they can hopefully still put together, even maybe some internet-based things that they're working on. But they want to stay connected with the community. They want to stay connected with you guys, and they want to keep serving the community in any way they can during these trying times. So reach out to facebook.com/ I believe it's The Adventure Begins. If not, just check the search bar. The Adventure Begins, comics, games, and more. We often link to them so you can see them on our page. Just reach out, and if you can support them at all, go ahead and do so as everybody kind of goes through this great pandemic opportunity. Thanks, and be safe, guys. Hey, Conroe, this is Corey DLG of Nerd Thug Radio, hanging out here, just enjoying my quarantine time at home, and I hope everyone else is doing the same, social distancing and minding their manners and listening to the orders while we get all this health crisis straightened out and get this pandemic under control. I hope everyone's doing their part to flatten the curve, but doing their part also means supporting small businesses. Local businesses here in Conroe, restaurants, things of that nature that have been able to stay open, they require the support of their community. So takeout is a good option to do. So reach out to those places, order some takeout food if you can afford it and if it's reasonable. I'm not asking anyone to risk their health, but the community has always relied on itself to support itself. And this is one of those times where, as Conroe, we can stand up together and take care of small businesses and entrepreneurs who've been taking care of us this whole time, helping Montgomery County grow into one of the fastest growing counties in all of America. Thank you very much, and stay safe, and stay tuned for more Nerd Thug Radio.
This is Rudy Tomjanovich, and welcome to Nerd Thug Radio.
And we're back. Welcome to some more Nerd Thug Sports coming your way right here on 104.5, 106.1, these sister stations. We're streaming worldwide at OurLoneStar.com, and of course, always check out the Facebook.com / Nerd Thug Radio.
Oh.
Yay!
Yay.
This is Corey DLG, and with me as usual is little brother Nico. We're doing the quarantine anchor Quintana dance. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know. What? I made up a word there. Yeah. So anyway, we were talking sports, and you had mentioned the Patriot way. And so a conversation me and my buddies have been having is after the playoffs, when Bill O'Brien, he choked a little bit in the Kansas City game, but so did the Texans overall as a whole. As a franchise, they choked against Kansas City in the playoffs. I think there's no getting around that. I think it's an honest thing to say. I think it's a real thing to talk about. They didn't look great. They were up big early, and then they didn't. I don't think they even forced a punt in the second half. So it got ugly fast. So from there, the conversation has just been Bill O'Brien's the worst head coach ever. He's the worst general manager ever. Then comes the Hopkins trade, and that's it. That's it. Everyone just knows he's the worst ever. And I've had to be the lone voice of reason in all of this. Our team is too good to fire the head coach unless you know the guy you're going to bring in is going to do better. There are times in the NFL when you bring in a head coach and he immediately improves a franchise. Sean Payton comes to mind. LaFleur last year in Green Bay. There are guys who, when they come in, they make wholesale changes. Immediately, they emphasize something different inside the locker room, and they create new opportunity in the team. So I don't want to fire Bill O'Brien unless we're hiring somebody who's going to be better. We were just in the we were just in the conference championships. We literally we're winning divisions, we're winning 12, 13 games. You're not going to fire a head coach after that season. You're just not. So then the Hopkins trade happens, and some people are saying, like, well, this is proof he doesn't know what he's doing. Well, here's the thing. I started thinking about it, and we were just talking about wide receivers literally just last segment. There hasn't been a dominant wide receiver on a Super Bowl winning team in a very long time.
Yeah.
The last Super Bowl that featured a dominant receiver still playing dominantly is probably Randy Moss on the 18-1 Patriots, and they lost that game. It was the Super Bowl. They lost it. That's the one.
Ooh, good job, guy.
Before that, it was a couple years prior. It was T.O. on the Philadelphia Eagles, who literally had broke his ankle, I think the last week of the season, and like promised to be ready on time and somehow was healed up enough to play 6 weeks later in the Super Bowl. It was impressive. It just was. And he went out there and Philadelphia lost to New England. So it didn't matter.
They were like, check him out, he's amazing. And then we lost anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is what it is. Dominant receivers on teams don't win Super Bowls. They just don't.
The math shows us otherwise.
So somebody went and did the targeting as a percentage of the season. Okay? The highest numbers on a Patriots Super Bowl winning team is like 24%. So there's no one on the entire Patriots offense who is targeted by the offense more than 24% of the time. On the times they've won a Super Bowl.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good, and that's still a lot. That's probably Wes Welker catching 13 balls a game. It's still a good number. Well, DeAndre Hopkins is around 30% in the Texans' offense. So he's getting the ball too much for us to win a Super Bowl. If we're going to be the Patriots.
Which, I mean, we're not, but that does it. Having a really strong offense is as much about like strength as it is a variety.
Exactly. If there's only one guy you're going to go to a third of the time, well, you're gonna lose.
Yeah, it's the problem that Pittsburgh had.
Exactly. They were going to two guys so much, and then those two guys were gone, and then what do?
Right, then they had nothing.
So that's a question that starts to linger. Then you look at some of the moves made about adding players around. So then the Hopkins trade happens, and we get in David Johnson. And David Johnson, who had one really good year in Arizona about 4 years ago. Then he had a really bad wrist injury, and then he hasn't been David Johnson ever since, okay? However, in the last 3 years, he's known for catching the ball out of the backfield. 9th overall in the league. So between him, and we dropped Carlos Hyde, who can't catch the ball to save his life, and between him and the running backs we've kept, we now are going to be throwing to our running backs a ton, and they can catch the ball.
Oh my gosh.
So we're going to be spreading the ball out more. And I think what the goal is to get the percentages down so that teams don't know who we're going to look at.
Right, yeah. A confused defense is where you want to be every time.
Right, and if you can be a quarterback with options against a defense that doesn't know where you're going to go with the ball, ideally now it's just about making the right decision to win the game.
Right, yeah. That decision becomes a whole lot easier, too.
Exactly. So, now we flash forward to Jadeveon Clowney, who remains unsigned in Seattle. We touched on this last week.
Mm-hmm.
DeAndre Hopkins is asking for $20 million, and he's under contract in Arizona already. And it sounds like Arizona's about to give it to him. So they're going to give him a $7 million a year pay raise and just tear up his contract as it is. And all of a sudden, we don't look that dumb for moving those guys.
Yeah, no, not really. I think what hurt, it's us being little babies about, no, but we like those guys because their names are important to us.
I do think that's part of it, but I also think part of it is
it's a good decision making because it frees up a lot of space on our roster.
well, it's important. Okay, so initially the criticism I had for Bill O'Brien on the Clowney stuff was he didn't get it done in the right amount of time.
I think that's still true.
I do think that's still true, but what we're learning is he still can't get a deal done in Seattle now with the whole offseason. This now makes me feel like if there's two teams that can't get a deal with this guy under a length of time, it's kind of it's not us, it's you sort of a thing.
Right. If both of them have the same problem.
Right. If we thought we were going to get a deal done and we felt like we were close and we just never could get it done, and Seattle feels the same way, in which they are saying publicly they do right now, then we're kind of in the same boat. And so two different franchises can feel the same way, well, then it's not about us.
Right, yeah. It's not our fault. You can't figure yourself out.
And this makes Seattle, like at the time, people were like, we didn't get anything for him. Now it looks like Seattle gave up too much to get him. 2 players and a third rounder, and, you know, a third rounder is supposed to be a starter on your team for a couple of years.
Right, yeah.
And they gave us 2 players, a third rounder, and we gave him Clowney for 1 year.
Yeah, because then they have to figure out his deal anyways.
Right. So they basically rented Clowney for a year, and now they're struggling.
Yeah, we got 3 guys for it. Ooh.
So, you know, we look a little bit smarter than that. And then for DeAndre Hopkins, we got a running back, and we got a second-round pick, and we traded one of our 2 second-round picks for Brandon Cooks, the other receiver. So we got a David Johnson and Brandon Cooks. We got 2 receivers that will help absorb the loss of DeAndre Hopkins. And with our other second-round pick, we drafted a defensive lineman that we needed. And our draft picks actually look like they're going to be starters.
Which has always been kind of a weak point of our team, is that we don't draft, like, amazing.
No, we don't draft amazing. But now we've got guys on the team, and we look like we're competent at the very least.
Oh my gosh, competency! I've never heard of it.
So between his trades last year, including bringing in a Pro Bowler in Laramie Tunsil,
and the fact that we don't have a GM.
Well, he's now officially the GM now.
I mean, my point being is it's the same guy. Like, we don't have a separate GM.
Right. No, you're right. But he's Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick has all those controls.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes do with what he's got. And so this is the same thing. He knows what he's doing.
That hurts a lot of people's feelings, Corey. I can't believe you'd say that.
I honestly... Here's the thing that sucks, is I'm not a huge Bill O'Brien fan. In game, I have criticisms. But when he made each of those trades last year, individually, I liked each of the trades. I didn't have a problem with any of them.
Yeah.
I didn't like the Clowney timing, but honestly,
now it looks like it really wasn't his fault to begin with.
It looks like Clowney's just kind of a pain in the butt to negotiate with. this is really the first time anyone's had to negotiate with him. And we're learning that no one can get it done. So Seattle, who has been able to sign players with ease, get free agents and all of that.
Yeah, they're a good team, and they've been in the Super Bowl.
They're a franchise
with
with an excellent reputation.
Right.
And they can't get it done.
They can't sort it out with them.
So if they can't sort it out, suddenly we don't look as recklessly irresponsible.
Yeah, all of a sudden that makes what we did not the worst thing ever, because originally that looked awful.
Yeah, the timing looked stupid, and then what we got back wasn't great, and it wasn't great because of the timing. But now the longer it goes, the more it looks like we got maximum value for a guy who's a pain in the butt to sign.
Right. So it worked out for us. That's good. Maybe we can actually do something this year.
Maybe. And the Hopkins trade, I think we've talked about all of this before for the Hopkins trade, but we're kind of up against it, so I don't want to get into anything new here. This was going to be the third offseason where he asked for a pay raise.
Right.
And on top of that, with 3 years left on his contract, he doesn't have any leverage. And he was still saying he wasn't going to come out for camp and all that.
Right. I think it's just him trying to get as much money as it is hard being a receiver.
Well, his timing hasn't been great on all of his extensions. And by the way, that's his own team's fault.
Yeah.
You know, when you rush, here's the thing. When you are first in line to re-sign, and there always is a guy who's first in line. When you're first in line to re-sign, you then are going to watch the other wide receivers sign for more money because they're going to use your contract to start their negotiations.
Well, you gave so-and-so this, so I'm coming in here.
Exactly. So now DeAndre Hopkins is looking around, and his numbers are, top 10 in the league, but his pay is closer to middle 20s, and it's because he went before the other guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you get impatient and you do stuff early like that, you always wind up in a situation where you're way ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And so now these guys who are worse than you are getting paid more money than you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right. You got to get yourself sorted. Patience is a virtue. They always say it.
It is, but some guys, listen, money is money, and getting the $14 million was probably pretty good for him at the time.
Yeah, no, definitely.
All right. Well, that's going to take us to a break. When we come back, we got more Nerd Thug Sports coming your way. This is Corey DLG of Nerd Thug Radio. I'm going to tell you guys about my friends, The Adventure Begins, comics, games, and more. Located right there on 1488 in Conroe. Right now, they're not open, but the Facebook page is active. They are still working every day to keep their inventory going. They're building a website. They're working on some events behind the scenes that they can hopefully still put together, even maybe some internet-based things that they're working on. But they want to stay connected with the community. They want to stay connected with you guys. And they want to keep serving the community in any way they can during these trying times. So reach out to facebook.com/ I believe it's The Adventure Begins. If not, just check the search bar. The Adventure Begins, comics, games, and more. We often link to them so you can see them on our page. Just reach out, and if you can support them at all, go ahead and do so as everybody kind of goes through this great pandemic opportunity. Thanks, and be safe, guys. Hey, Conroe, this is Corey DLG of Nerd Thug Radio, hanging out here, just enjoying my quarantine time at home, and I hope everyone else is doing the same, social distancing and minding their manners and listening to the orders while we get all this health crisis straightened out and get this pandemic under control. I hope everyone's doing their part to flatten the curve, but doing their part also means supporting small businesses. Local businesses here in Conroe, restaurants, things of that nature that have been able to stay open, they require the support of their community. So takeout is a good option to do. So reach out to those places, order some takeout food if you can afford it and if it's reasonable. I'm not asking anyone to risk their health, but the community has always relied on itself to support itself. And this is one of those times where, as Conroe, we can stand up together and take care of small businesses and entrepreneurs who have been taking care of us this whole time, helping Montgomery County grow into one of the fastest growing counties in all of America. Thank you very much, and stay safe, and stay tuned for more Nerd Thug Radio.
Hi, this is Kevin Smith, former Dallas Cowboy, Texas A&M Aggie as well, and I want to say what's up to Nerd Thug Radio.
That's all. That's it. That's the whole show. We're done. We do want to tell you guys about Adventure Begins Comics, Games, and More before we get any further into anything. They are, of course, following all the rules and protocols being put forth by the state, and the governor has said that they're allowed to open starting tomorrow. So starting tomorrow, they're going to be open in a limited capacity. Feel free to come in and shop if you're comfortable. And what they want to stress to everybody is comfort is what matters. They're here to provide whatever level of customer service you're looking for. Now, gaming hasn't started back up, and it won't start up for a little while. They want to get back into the swing of things, get everybody comfortable and happy and safe. They're still willing to do curbside if you would like. And if you want to stay at home and wait, they're still willing to work with you on that as well. There's no hurry or rush, but if you miss your comic books, if you miss your gaming, if you miss being a nerd, the Adventure Begins, Comics, Games, and More. They feel you. They're right there with you.
Oh, he's dying.
Oh, my God. It's my first on-air cough in a long time. So, yeah, go hang out with them right there on 1488. And, yeah, they're coming back, and they're part of the Support Local movement. So make sure you do that if you can, and then just hang out and support them and do your Conroe thing. Yeah. All right, so we've covered the Texans. We covered Green Bay. There's not too much else going on, except it was just announced, just now, that the Bengals have released Andy Dalton.
Oh, no, not Andy Dalton.
Yeah, not really a surprise, I suppose. Here, I'll give you the deets here.
The Dalton deets.
Where's my... Well, I hate ESPN's website sometimes. So Andy Dalton's run with the Bengals is over. Obviously, the Bengals took Joe Burrow's number 1 overall. Joe Burrow, not Burrows. Man, when I was writing for SportsMap, I had a guy literally send me an email because I kept writing Burrows with an S.
It's Burrow.
It's Burrow, but his email was
it's singular. Get it right.
It was so well written that I had no choice but to be like, you right. He was like, as good as he is, there's only one of him. And I was like, okay, my bad.
That's a pretty good reply to that.
So Dalton did have 5 career playoff appearances in, I think, 9 years? It feels like 9 years.
I mean, that's a good career, I guess.
He was set to earn $17.7 million in the final season of a 6-year contract worth $96 million. After all the money they've spent, they just didn't have the salary cap space to keep him and bring in their rookies. So I guess he kind of knew that. Yeah. 9 years, 204 touchdowns, 2,757 completions.
I mean, good for him, I guess. Like, this is the end of, like, an incredibly average career.
He is most certainly, while unquestionably probably the best Bengals quarterback in the last 30 years, rather unremarkable.
Yeah, like, it's not like he won the Super Bowl or anything, which, I mean, like, to be fair, like, understandably, like, only a couple of teams have even competed in the Super Bowl in the past couple of years.
So, when you look at active head coaches who have Super Bowl rings, I think there's only like 5 or 6 of them. It's even easier to do in the NBA, and I'm going to blow your mind with the stat here in a second. Just because you were talking about that. So me and the Captain Joey Savage were talking about. He's been watching the Michael Jordan documentary. I haven't been watching it yet. I want to watch it all at once. So I've been waiting. Okay, you ready for this stat?
No.
Since 1980, so 40 years, 40 years, only 12 franchises have won NBA titles.
Oof. 12?
Yup.
How many are there again?
30.
Ooh, that's not even half. Oh, that's not even half. What is that? What, 40 years, not even half?
40 years, 12 teams.
Oh, man. Hey, we're on that list. We're cool.
Do you want to play that game? Do you want to name the teams?
So Golden State, Heat, us, the Bulls. So that's 4.
You got 4.
The Pistons have 1. I know that.
Okay, that's 5.
I'm trying to think. I just don't know enough basketball teams.
Okay, so I'll give you the text exchange between the captain and I. So he says, since 1980, only 12 franchises have won NBA titles. That's all he said.
I got half. I got almost half.
You did. I go, am I naming them? He was like, yeah, go for it. I was like, all right, cool. Bulls, Lakers, Spurs, Rockets, Celtics, Mavericks, Heat, Pistons, Cavaliers. So then I'm like, oh, man, I'm missing 3. And so I'm thinking about it, and then he beat me to it. Warriors, Raptors, and then the 76ers won 1 in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
I was like, yeah, Warriors and Raptors I would have gotten in a second. 76ers, I never would have gotten that.
76ers in the 80s. You got them.
So the Raptors won 1. The Cavaliers won 1. The Heat won 1. The Mavericks won 1. Okay? And the 76ers won 1. So those 5 teams only won.
Yeah, so 5 teams only won. So the other 7?
The other 7 have won 35 championships.
Oh my god! So even if they're obviously not all equal, but
and if you take out
5
the Rockets,
per,
if you take out the 2 from the Rockets, now 6 have won 33. If you take out the 3 from the Pistons, now 5 have won 30.
Yeah, that's insane. That's 6 championships per team.
So the Bulls have two three-peats. The Lakers, the Spurs, the Celtics, and then the Warriors have quite a few.
That's insane.
Actually, the Warriors, I think, only have it's 2. So, realistically.
So you take out all the ones that have 2s.
So if you take the Warriors out as well, now it's 4 teams have 28.
Which is bleh.
And then you take out the Bulls with their 6. So now it's 3 teams have 22. And you're left with the Lakers, Spurs, and Celtics. The Spurs only have, I think, 4. So,
yeah, it's over 40 years.
So 18 between the Lakers and the Celtics.
Blech. Disgusting. Sports stats like that is oh my gosh.
The first thing it makes you think about is just the level, right? The level these guys are all at. Just these other obvious franchises aren't doing anything in comparison.
Yeah, comparatively, these teams are just what is happening?
And here's where it gets messy. Are you ready?
I wasn't ready for that last thing. Probably not.
In New Jersey, the Nets were in the finals 3 years in a row and lost all 3.
Ugh.
The Cavaliers got there a couple other times and lost.
Mm-hmm.
There's been teams who get close but can never win. And then there's teams who get there all the time and win when they get there.
Shout out to Toronto finally getting theirs.
Yeah. Well, all it took was LeBron leaving.
Yeah. Not getting rolled by one guy.
It took LeBron changing completely out of the East for Toronto to get to the finals.
For them to win.
What's that? You're in the Western Conference? Cool. We'll see you in the finals.
Oh, what do you want? A completely new team with no support? Guess I won't see you in the finals.
It's cool. You can take a break. We'll take this one.
Right.
But yeah, so if you drop the 5 teams that have one title each, you suddenly are at 35 championships among, 7 teams?
Yeah.
Tell me that's not a crazy thought, man.
Yeah, no, it's not. Like, it's one of those things where you're just like, yeah, there's just no arguing that. That's just what it is.
Well, so like when you talk about these eras, and so we'll flip it back to football now. Talk about these eras. You talk about a guy like Peyton Manning, who got 2 rings. Eli Manning has 2 rings. Well, in this era, dominated by one team being so great, the Patriots, you're stuck with guys. If you have 2 rings in this era, you're a big deal.
Yeah. Like, maybe you snuck out one the year they didn't make it, or...
Right. But even just, having any ring at all in this era, like Drew Brees, as prolifically as he's great with his numbers, having 1 ring in this era is going to look even more amazing because he's going to have an accomplishment that so few teams in this era are going to have.
Yeah. Being shut out for so long. I mean, what was the stat like? The Patriots have been in 9 of the past.
So this is Tom Brady. I think his 15th year in the league. They've been in, I think it's 8 Super Bowls. They've won
6 of them.
I think they've won their division 11 times. They've won 6 Super Bowls. They've lost 3 or 4. I think they win a Super Bowl every 3 years. They've been in a Super Bowl every other year. That's how it averages out.
Like, insanity. Just insanity. Like, no other team can even come close to that.
Well, yeah, there's not another team that even... That's the thing, right? So now you start going, okay, well, name me coaches who've won Super Bowls. And active coaches
4.
who've won, there's 4.
Yeah.
Because Bill Belichick is literally winning all the time.
If he's not winning, he's at least there.
Right. So now you got Mike McCarthy's now in Dallas. He's got 1, and it's from 10 years ago. Sean Payton's got 1. The Denver coaches are gone. Trying to go back through the recent. Pete Carroll is still there in Seattle. He's the closest thing to any sort of repeating factor. He's been in it 3 and 1-2, 2 and 1-1.
Yeah.
So it's hard to measure. It's hard to measure against the best in this era. So for a guy like Andy Dalton, who's just been mediocre, to bring it full circle.
Yeah, he's been to the playoffs half of his career.
Yeah, he's made it to the playoffs 5 times. Okay, well, listen, for the Bengals, that's great because they don't have a guy good enough to, they were never a team that was, this team might win the Super Bowl.
Never once was that discussion. They're literally jobber level.
They're the guy who goes out to make someone else look good.
Yeah.
That's fair. We have beaten them 3 times in the opening round of the playoffs.
Right, and it's well, look, the Bengals are out. Oh, look, there they go. They died again.
And that's sort of the position that Andy Dalton has made for himself, if you're looking at it. So it's not much of a legacy, but it's his.
If he's a quarterback that I know the name of, even though he's not good, I think that's even more impressive.
Yeah, well, and let's be clear. While he's not great, he's better than probably 10 to 12 guys who have a job right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, he'll probably sign on another team, and he'll do it before Cam Newton, probably.
That hurts. That hurts a lot.
You think? Well, I mean, it hurts Cam Newton, probably.
That's what I'm saying.
Also, there are lots of teams that are surprised Cam Newton hasn't signed with New England.
I think it's just too much of a risk with injury involved.
Honestly, I think Andy Dalton winds up in New England. I think New England knew that Andy Dalton was going to get cut for a long time, and I think they are sitting around and they're going to offer him like $1 million, and I think he'll take it because he'll be like, I could win a ring, maybe.
Man, imagine going back to the playoffs and then being like, oh look, we're gonna beat the Patriots, except it doesn't have Tom Brady, and you still lose, but this time it's Andy Dalton. Like, man,
you've got to think teams this year will be almost overconfident playing the Patriots.
It's kind of like how like the season of basketball where like none of your big guys are playing. Like the Warriors exploded, and like everyone moved.
This was the wide open season.
Yeah, this was the one that was like going to be the craziest.
And now we'll never even have a champion.
How sad.
We'll never know how it ends now. And the worst part is,
it was the season that was had so much mystery it didn't even end.
Right, so much mystery it can't give us a finale. And the worst part is, there was so much mystery going on that now when you look up, like so much time has passed that the hurt guys are all healthy now.
Yeah, like all of a sudden the season that was supposed to be like nerve-wracking is now like, oops, everything's fine.
Yeah, oh, never mind. The Warriors are healthy. Never mind. They're all healthy. Steph Curry broke his leg, or his arm, I mean. Klay Thompson had the knee. Draymond Green had some issues. Nope, they're all healthy now.
Yeah, like all, it's like, maybe this is the time. It's like, oh, everyone's fine. It's like, no.
Thanks, Corona.
Like this is a secret blessing to all those people that got hurt.
It is, except the Golden State Warriors. Actually, Steve Kerr the other day said that the Golden State Warriors are operating as though this season is over.
I mean, yeah, no, definitely. I don't think they can recover with their like.
No. Like it sounds like they're not even expecting.
Like, well, yeah,
I mean, they for a playoff or anything.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's what I'm pretty sure they had it cemented in their minds that like at the end of last season they're like, all right, we're gonna hang up the laurels for a minute and get fully recovered and then, yeah.
That might be what they feel they need to do, but what we're going to do here is we're going to jump out. We want to thank everybody for listening for today. Have a great day. Enjoy your sports. Check us out on the RTF Sports Network or on irlonestar.com. Make sure to hang out with us. Drop us an email. Send Nico pictures of your boudoir photo suits. He's into that now, so he's ready. Does that ruin your day?
It doesn't really matter to me.
I really hope someone's into one now.
All right.
On behalf of little brother Nico and myself, on behalf of the city of Conroe and the adventure begins, everyone stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe, wash your hands, don't touch your face, and if you shake it more than twice, you're playing with it. This has been Nerd Thug Radio. Catch you later, guys.